Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes. Welcome. Hi, how you doing? Thank you for being here and listening to the show where we're going to be talking about professional wrestling for an hour or two or something like that. It's not as if I don't know these things. I'm a very go with the flow kind of guy. So let's find out together. Well, you probably already know, because this is recorded. So you probably already know how long this podcast went. We're not going to find out together. But join me on my journey as I discover how much I can talk about pro wrestling in one single sitting right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or on your favorite podcast application. Look, wherever you're listening, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate you letting me jump into your, listening patterns, your consumption of media. Thank you so much. And if you're listening to this on YouTube right now, do consider giving a like and subscribe if it's your first time here. That would be tremendous. Or at the same time, you can also become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Then show a little support that way. That would be tremendous, right? It would be a great big boon, if you ask me. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast application, whether it's Apple or Spotify or wherever, 5-star reviews, specifically on Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings, specifically on Spotify, help out a great deal as well. These are all little things that happen, that can be done, that are free to do, that take a short amount of your time, but help out tremendously in growing the podcast and making it great. So I would 100% appreciate a little help, but I mostly appreciate you being here today. Just like you could be, with us every day on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord, where we talk about pro wrestling and other things as well. The link is in the description if you're into that. If you feel like dropping in, saying hello, joining up in the conversation, it would be a good time. We would love to have you there. Thank you so very much. And that's how it goes right now. I'm still not recording these live. I haven't gone back to doing full live streams yet. Still want to make sure that my endurance is up there, that that I'm not completely exhausting myself. But we're getting there. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get back to doing some live streams and reconnecting with you all and recording the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast live again. I'm looking forward to all of that. But in the meantime, before we get back to all of that, let's jump right in here, because we got a pretty good look. We've got a good show ahead of us here today. We've got a good show. We've got some reviews up our sleeve. Windy City Riot that we have to review. AEW Battle of the Belts. We'll also be previewing AEW's big upcoming Dynasty pay-per-view, which is happening this weekend. We got a bunch of stuff here. There's a lot more, some news tidbits as well. Let's get right to it. Let's start it off. The weekly wrestling inspection. Here we go. Now, before we get into things, people, maybe some of you are there. Warren, what the hell, man? You're talking about all of this stuff, but you're not going to talk about the footage? You're not going to talk about the footage that was aired on Dynamite last week? No, I'm not, because I've already discussed the footage at length during my AEW Dynamite review that was posted last Thursday. So I'll leave a little card here if you want to, right here on the video, if you want to check it out. Otherwise, it's right in your podcast feed as well. I said everything I had to say about it. Maybe, as one final reminder or wrap up of how I feel about the whole situation. Just before we do move on, I at this point, I just really sincerely hope that AEW leaves everything related to CM Punk behind. I hope we no longer touch on it. I think there has been sentiment across fans there's been sentiment across the fan base that this was maybe a yard too far. And while people would, I think we all would like to know exactly what happened. We'd like to get more perspective on it with what happened with CM Punk. Yeah, all out, all in, everything, the lead up to Collision and all that. Sure, I'm sure we'd all like to know more. I hope that as it pertains to the entertainment aspect of the company, therefore their shows on Wednesdays and Saturdays, I hope we just leave it alone. I hope we just set it aside and we no longer have to address it, feel like we have to address it. I'm kind of exhausted about it. I'm assuming a lot of you are as well. So I think it's just time to move on. And there's been reports circulating that Tony Khan has got it out of his system kind of thing and is ready to move on. And I surely hope so. I really and sincerely hope that we're ready to move on to the next step here and no longer outright address it, especially not on TV. But then again, I know how wrestling fans are. We're still arguing about the Montreal screw job. We're still arguing about 93,000 people in the Pontiac Silverdome. And these are decades old, multi-decades old situations, right? So things will never be things will never entirely let go, right? But I kind of hope that AEW themselves just remove themselves from any more discussion on that front. That's where I'm at right now. That's where I was at last Thursday. That's where I'm at still today. If you want to hear my full thoughts about it, head on over there because I'm really fed up about it. Just a couple of quick news items before we get into the reviews and the previews and all that. Just a couple of quick hits. At least I hope they're going to be quick. You know me. Rhea Ripley, turns out, is injured. She will no longer she will no longer be WWE Women's World Champion. An AC joint injury has forced her to vacate the title. She came out on Raw this week, her arm in a sling, and announced that she had to vacate the title due to a shoulder injury. She said that she'd be out of action for quite a few months. Brian Alvarez, in his subscriber exclusive Raw report, said that she suffered the AC joint in the brawl with Liv Morgan last week. That backstage segment, I should say, where Liv threw her into her wall, threw her chair at her as well. Well, Rhea got hurt when she was thrown into the wall. Apparently, it was a complete fluke. There's no heat on Morgan for what happened. Usually, this injury takes 4 to 6 weeks to regain mobility and up to 3 months to be back ready to go. So she being Rhea Ripley did say she was going to be away for a while, and that's a bummer. That's a bummer because we talk a lot about Rhea Ripley here on the show because I think she's a bona fide superstar for this company, and the fans feel it too. There's no doubt in my mind. Plus, she's a very good worker on top of that. So she has a tremendous amount of upside. For her to be out with an AC injury, that kind of stinks. Look, I mean, good on WWE for giving her time to heal and whatnot, repair. Yeah, but when it comes to vacating the title, it's so extremely arbitrary when it comes to WWE and this kind of stuff, and a lot of promotions too. I mean, it's not just WWE. It's very, very, very arbitrary sometimes. Because listen, she being Rhea, she wouldn't defend her title for months at a time. 2 months would pass before she would have a defense, which isn't a problem. I'm not complaining that Rhea Ripley never defended her title. And that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that in the past, during her reign, she would spend frequently up to 2 months without a defense. So, she'll be gone for like, up to 3 months until she gets back, 4 to 6 weeks, a month and a half. Did they really have to strip her of the title is my point. Did they really have to take it away from her when in the regular kayfabe of things, she just, she does nothing, she doesn't do, all that she's not a frequent, defending champion, which is okay. Again, I don't have an issue. I know there's people that say that are like, oh, the champion should be defending more often. It's like, we could get into that, but I'm not going to get into that right now because I want to talk about other stuff. And I promised these would be quick hits. But as far as she goes, as far as her reign goes and her title, holding on to the title for so long. I mean, like I said, it's a tremendous run she was on. She maybe didn't have many defenses, and the defenses that she had outside of Charlotte and Becky were, not exactly the cream of the crop. I was looking forward to to Rhea Ripley sinking her teeth into this run here and having a great second win to it. I don't know if starting off with Liv Morgan is exactly the way you want to go. I know she and Liv have history and whatnot, but I'm not the biggest Liv Morgan fan on the face of wrestling fandom right now. So, there's a lot of things that jive really poorly with me, and I think that your best case scenario is to keep the title on a really strong, on a really, really strong babyface wrestler, heel or babyface. I don't know. Again, I understand she'll probably be off television. It'd probably be weird, but then again, Roman disappears for months and then he comes back. Like I don't know what it doesn't make much. It doesn't make 100% sense to me. There's a lot of things that I understand, but there's a lot of things that don't. So, I'm ambivalent. I don't know. I don't know if this was a necessary decision here, but it was obvious. If it's an AC joint that she hurt, then she obviously does need time off. She obviously needs to rehab and get back in shape, and that's absolutely understandable. It's the stripping of the title that. In Japan, most of the time, you will hang on to a title until you'll be stripped of a title if you can't make the date. We can all remember a couple of years ago when Jon Moxley was IWGP US champion over in New Japan, right? People were like, why is he keeping it for so many months? Why is he being stripped? Well, he's not being booked. He's not being booked. The minute that he is booked for that the championship gets booked and he can't make the date for whatever reason, then we're going to strip him, right? This was in the midst of the pandemic and travel restrictions, and he had the title, and people were like, well, why isn't he getting stripped? Well, he wasn't being booked. That was, and then that's just like plain flat logic right there. It's not always that logical, but sometimes, that's the basic gist of it. So, maybe wait till she actually has to defend the title and can't show. I don't know. I just don't like it. Doesn't quite make sense to me. And it's a shame that her reign comes to a close. A reign that, like I said, hasn't been all that spectacular. Let's be honest. Tremendous match last year against Charlotte at WrestleMania 39. Absolutely tremendous match. And a fine match with Becky Lynch this year. A good little match, but nothing that'll tear the house down. We've been reports that Becky Lynch has been, was sick as well, stuff like that. That's all fine and dandy, but Then you get then you have matches against Zelina Vega, against Raquel Rodriguez. Like, people were like, it doesn't matter. Like, and Nia Jax. These are not good defenses. You go back, you watch the matches, like, these kind of suck. You know, the Zelina Vega one, at the very least, did what it had to do, which was Rhea Ripley squashing her in front of her country people and friends and family. You know, anyway. So Rhea Ripley injured. She'll be out for a while, but she's going to have great reactions. People will be very excited to see her back. I know I will. This Monday morning, April 15, 2024, former Stardom founder and head boss, Rossy Ogawa, held a press conference announcing the formation of Dream Star Fighting Marigold, or just plain old Marigold. This is his long-anticipated, long-awaited new wrestling promotion that he's been touting for a while now. That it's been rumored at the very least, and then he started dropping significant hints that this was happening. Well, it's all happening. It's put together. It's ready. We've got a logo. We've got bright yellow colors, and the first show, Marigold Fields Forever. I honestly, I kind of like this. Marigold Fields Forever will take place on May 20th at Kirkenhall, and it will stream on Wrestle Universe with both Japanese and English commentary. The main event of this match will feature a tag team match where Julia and a mystery partner will be facing Sari and a mystery partner, or at least unannounced. I don't want to go ahead and say that these are mystery partners, and you're expecting someone tremendous. We know how wrestling fans get, and they're mystery partners. But this will at the very least be unannounced. TBA. There you go. At the start of the press conference, Rossy revealed the first 7 women of his roster, and they include Julia, Utami Hayashishita, Mirai, Nane Takahashi, Mei Sakurai, and Yuzuki, who is now going by the name of Victoria Yuzuki. And all of these women were formerly of Stardom. And also announced here was Nao Ishikawa. And at the end of the press conference, a whole bunch of other women announced that they were also going to be part of Dream Star Fighting Marigold. Natsumi Sumikawa, Miku Ono, Misa Mitsui, Chiaki, butchered that, apologies, Chikagoto, and Kuki. They will all be part of the roster as well. So it's also interesting. It's also important to note that, as far as we know, Julia is not going to be a permanent member of the roster. Of course, she's officially signed with WWE now. So she will be heading over. She's going to be reporting to NXT once these dates with Rossy are done. She did say previously to all of this that she was going to stick around and help out Rossy get his promotion off the ground before heading to the waters of Connecticut. And in ancillary commentary, maybe not necessarily at the press conference, I don't quite remember, but in other circumstances, maybe in interviews with Japanese media, Ogawa said that he had a very good relationship with WWE. He even invited Io Sky. Jesus, how long? It's been 3 years now, and I still can't. It's still not connecting. Io Sky and Kairi Sane. He's invited them to Marigold as well, and said again via translation that he wouldn't mind his promotion to be a quote unquote ranch for WWE. I guess a feeder system would be, because we're machine translated. I don't think he used outright the word ranch, or maybe he did. I don't speak enough Japanese. I don't speak any Japanese aside from the essentials. Sayonara, right? That's important, and that's I think that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think of the words. Do you consider the fact that you're able to order sushi? Do you consider that speaking Japanese? Maki and nigiri and onigiri. Probably not. Anyway, it's like saying, oh yeah, I speak Italian, lasagna. It's kind of like that thing. You sound stupid, right? You can't go, hey, look, I speak Japanese. Sashimi. You just end up coming across like a big goof. He also said something that really perked up ears, and people got really, really mad. Because during the press conference, he said that, and this is a quote from the live translation: Marigold is looking for new talent, healthy, unmarried women between the ages of 13 and 30. Please come and join us. A lot of people didn't like that. They didn't like the healthy and unmarried, and they didn't like the fact that he's reaching out to minors, right? Joshi wrestlers, many of them, I don't want to say all of them, but a large number of them start training while they're minors. They start very, very young, and to a degree, it's probably if you could do this like in high school for some extra credit or whatnot, or whatever an after school activity, or whatever the fuck, maybe this would come across as better. But of course, it does sound weird. Don't get me wrong. It sounds weird. Healthy unmarried women between 13 and 30, please come join us. Like, I know a lot of people got really upset about that, but ultimately, healthy, sure. You don't want someone joining your wrestling promotion that has a heart condition, or, has asthma, or, whatever the fuck, has a bum knee. What if they have a bum knee? What if they have a case of the shingles? What if, you don't want people with a bum knee or the shingles joining your wrestling promotion. So you got to, you got to pass the physical is what we're doing. Just don't want your bum knee in here. Your gammy leg. You want a gammy leg in wrestling. It's not going to work out. Doing high flying moves with a gammy leg. So, the healthy part is sure is fun. Now, the unmarried part, yes, it does come across as weird. What does this mean exactly? Does he just want, women who are ready to focus on their career as opposed to family life? They don't want to get in the way. That could be possible as well. But you know what I mostly think? I think it's this idea that they want to create the fantasy that these women are, single, that they're, and that you as a watcher can latch onto that. And it's not look, it sounds awful, but it's also something that New Japan does frequently, where they're like, they don't want wrestlers talking about their private life, especially the young, handsome guys, because they want they want members of the audience to to see them as, single and accessible. And, maybe I could be his girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever. So it's, and for years, that's why we say sometimes, kayfabe in Japan is still maintained and is still a thing for stuff like this. The promotions prefer, they see the value, the extra value, and in pushing good-looking, charming guys. I'm talking about New Japan here, who don't have any outstanding relationships, who don't have marital ties. You won't get the girls as crazy for Kazuchika Okada, as it's well known that he's married and he has a kid, and you're like, oh, okay, well, he's untouchable. But Hiromu Takahashi, though, ooh, international man of mystery here, that kind of stuff. And it's something that many promotions have done in the past, with WWE and so on and so forth. You just have to think back at a couple of years ago when with the whole Lana Rusev marriage deal, right? I understand, like, from a kayfabe point of view, I understand. I think that there's a little nuance here that's lost in translation and comes off really, really bad and really, really creepy. Healthy, unmarried, 13 years old. Oh no, this all sounds bad, but at the same time, this is how Joshi's been operating for a while now. These are like the tenets. It's like the commandments. So it makes me feel a little uncomfortable. But then when I think about it, I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, that's entirely that's how it goes now. I saw discussions about, well, is it legal to demand marital status to a new employee? It's like, oh my God, we're going so deep and so far into this for a few women that'll probably be affected by this. Because a lot of them, a lot of pro wrestlers are, at this age in Japan are not betrothed, engaged, dating. Well, some of them, dating is another thing. Don't want to get too far into the weeds here. But so listen, those are the main talking points that came out of the press conference. Listen, and I'm not saying that I know anything here. I'm not saying anything that may be attached to me having some kind of inside information, because I don't. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rossy'S new production here is bankrolled by WWE in some fashion. I'm not saying that they own it. I'm not saying that they're part owners, but I wouldn't be surprised. He's being very open about it, about his relationship with WWE and how good they've been to him, and it could just be him putting them over because they're really good with them too. Maybe they're just really chill and really nice. So So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't. At the very, I think it's clear there's going to be some kind of relationship. There's going to be some type of relationship, but I wouldn't be. We'll find out, because there's. I may be completely in the dark, off track here, because we'll find out with their quarterly earnings and whatnot. We're gonna find out sooner than later. But listen, might just be me speculating wildly here, and this is part of what we got to do. That it's fun. Speculation is fun. I'll tell you what, this wasn't the exodus that people were expecting, right? When Rossy said he was leaving, everyone said, "Oh, the roster's gonna be bled dry. People are gonna leave." It's just 6 women who officially left. again, we're not tearing the house down. We're not burning the house of stardom down. Not everyone is following. Not quite exactly what we were expecting. Now, I have heard that there are some people who cannot do the jump. Now, what do I mean by cannot? It could be a bunch of reasons. Could be financial reasons. Could be the fact that they're still locked into a contract. Could be other factors as well. Could be other promises that Bushiroad made and they're like, no, I can't do the jump because of this, because of that. So is it entirely possible that down the road, maybe a year or so, that people, that more women from Stardom make the jump to Marigold? Yes. Yes. I think everyone is a little stunned that Mayu Iwatani is not following Rossy. I think everyone was sort of expecting her to go. And I think the conventional wisdom here is that, oh, well, Mayu is still under contract. That's obviously why she didn't go, because, you know, her relationship with Rossy and so on and so forth. Sure. Let me put this in another perspective as well. You know, Mayu is Mayu. I get it. She's a big star, but she is getting older, and especially in Joshi years, you know, where careers are historically have been shorter. She's maybe she's felt that it's time for her to focus on what she has, and maybe doesn't see how she'd fit into a new promotion where clearly the people who are going to be pushed are Julia for a while and Utami and Mirai. Those are absolutely the women that I feel Rossy is going to lean on for his promotion moving forward. If Julia wasn't leaving, you'd absolutely put her up there as well. Maybe she just looks at the landscape and is like, you know what? I don't see myself starting off. And here's another situation as well. Here's another thing that we have to keep in mind that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, but this is another project for Rossy Ogawa, and I don't think he wants to go back and start another Stardom. You know, he wants to start fresh. He wants to give it a new go. He wants to create another environment for women's wrestling in Japan, as opposed to just rebooting Stardom, which is smart when you think about it. Bringing Mayu into his promotion, Mayu, who is like quintessentially Stardom, she is the Stardom icon, bringing her into Marigold and including multiple other Stardom women on top of that, you know, more women, would just give the impression that, oh, Rossy's just, he's using the same chess pieces on a different board. You know, it doesn't make sense. Why would he leave to start up a new thing if he's just going to try and recreate it? And a lot of people, maybe you could go with the argument of spite. Maybe he just wants to do it he just wants to spite Bushiroad and just like, I'm going to take everything and start up. Sure, but that's a hell of a gamble that you want to do there. You kind of want to start up fresh and, you know, on your own 2 feet and create something else. And if anything, in his, 30, 40 years in the business at this point, you know, Rossy Ogawa has been a creator. He's a guy who has been, involved in some of the biggest story beats in Joshi and women's pro wrestling in Japan since the 80s, right? Where he started off, late 70s, even if I'm not mistaken, where he started off, being a commentator and so on and so forth, and then getting involved. You know, the Crush Gals have been credited to him. Like, he basically managed and took care of the Crush gals, right? And he worked in the great boom period of women's wrestling in the 90s as well. He even worked with the WWF to bring the Jumping Bomb Angels stateside. There's another act he was involved with tremendously. And then, even working with Medusa and bringing her over to Japan multiple times in the Dome show. And then he started up a promotion later on in late 90s into the 2000s, Arison, right? That shut down. And then he started Stardom. And he wasn't trying to revitalize his past glories. He's always tried to do something new. I'm not sitting here, suddenly becoming, a 100% Rossy advocate, but his observable accomplishments in the business are there nonetheless. And if you take a step back and you look at them, you're like, well, okay, that might be something. There might be something here. I think this is a guy who was ready to move on. This is a guy who was, from what I understand, was promised things in Stardom, was promised that the suits would stay out of it, and the suits didn't stay out of it, and there's really two sides of the story here. Either he was fired, in what was it, February at the anniversary show, right? Either he was fired there by Bushiroad, or the other side of the story is that he gave Bushiroad his notice in November 2023 that he was leaving, and that what ended up happening at Bushiroad, at the anniversary show was Rossy. Was the Bushiroad executives coming up to say, no, we're terminating your contract tonight. Thank you. Like, he still had time on his contract, but we're ending it tonight. And it was like, oh, okay. Well, okay, that's fine. There's a lot of reasons, North American fans have their opinions about Rossy. I sure do, and you've got, Tony Khan has his very clear opinions on Rossy Ogawa, and that's fine. Like, no one expects everyone to love each other and be pals and high five each other after a job well done. It's a business, and it's a very cutthroat business, and it's a very cutthroat business. And the fact that Rossy is still here after, it has to be like 4 decades he's been involved in the business, that he's still here, he's still doing stuff. He knows what he's doing, and he doesn't clutch to the past. He's a guy who always wants to look forward and keep moving. Sure, his Stardom baby was taken over by, a corporation, which he sold to, by the way. Like that, I'm not sitting here bemoaning, oh, poor little Rossy. He kind of knew what he was getting himself into, right? Like he opened the door up, he let the wolves in for, to sell his company, which wasn't doing well. So, whatever, it's fine. The fact that they did get involved, they started being more and more hands-on, sure, it's a tremendous bummer, and it's not something, that you want as a creator, and probably as someone who signed the contract demanding that no one get involved too, right? Then anyway, but we're not there. We're piecing together things as we move along here. But this is a guy who creates. He puts things together, and he creates opportunities. He creates, wrestling matches, storylines, whatever you want to call it. Like, he's a creator. So this is his new. This is his new venture. That's entering a crowded marketplace. We're not going to sugarcoat this. He's entering a crowded marketplace where there's already a lot of Joshi promotions in an economic environment right now, which is not good. I don't know if you heard, there's a recession in Japan. So again, which kind of leads me to believe that it has to be bankrolled a little bit by someone. Anywho, he's starting off. He's this whole thing is taking off, and he's already got some shows lined up. The first show, like we said, on May 20th in Korakuen. Then he's got another show on May 26th in Shinkiba. Then in June, we're going to Osaka, Hamamatsu, back to Korakuen on June 11. Then Kyoto, Nagoya, Shinkiba again, Sendai. He's got a tour set up. He's ready to go. Some people are very angry at this. Some people are mad. I'm always pro more places for wrestlers to work. You can't do wrong with. Is it going to fail? Is it going to succeed? Let's jump in and find out together. Now, there's also people that are wondering, is this the link that WWE needs to start up NXT Japan or whatever the fuck? And I'm like, I don't understand this obsession that people have with WWE being in the Japanese market. Here's my suggestion, and it is a deep. Stop worrying about whether or not worrying. Stop wondering, because you can worry about WWE entering the marketplace, and that's a whole other discussion. But stop wondering whether or not this is the time, this is the opportunity for WWE to get into the market. And clearly, if you have an interest in in Japanese pro wrestling, and you're sitting over here and you're going, well, is this the time WWE is going to jump in, and you're waiting for something to happen on that front? I say scrub all of that and just watch some Japanese pro wrestling. Watch some and enjoy it, whether or not WWE makes it or not. I don't understand this fixation of absolutely needing WWE to be in this market. They've tried for decades. They might try again, right? There's rumors going around. They might try again. And, they're doing a show in Japan in later this year, right? This summer, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's like, go ahead. Maybe this time it'll work around. Maybe this time it'll work, right? Vince is gone, billions of dollars. Nick Khan wants growth. Maybe this is the moment that WWE does do it. But if you're waiting for this, if you're waiting for WWE to poke its head and create NXT Japan, go now. Just enjoy Japanese pro wrestling right now. There's a lot of good stuff. You can dive into history for some even better stuff. Just go ahead and do it. That's all. That's all there is to it. I don't think Rossi is the missing link. I don't think he's going to be like the power broker to make it all happen. I think if WWE puts its back into it, it'll happen. Period. But again, I'm going off track. Don't want to spend time talking about WWE in Japan right now. But that's where we're at with Marigold, the new promotion from Rossi Ogawa. We'll see how all of this develops as we move forward. Since we're on the topic of Japanese pro wrestling, I think we'll go right ahead and jump into my review of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Windy City Riot 2024, which happened on April 12 at the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois. According to WrestleTix, the attendance was 6,028 people. I believe this is one of the biggest non-MSG gates that New Japan has drawn, if not the biggest. This has to be qualified as a success for New Japan Pro Wrestling, especially when it comes to their U.S. endeavors. They got to be really happy about this. And look, they got a really hot crowd for this one. Everyone was into it. And I was into it too. Like I thought overall this was a good show. I'm not screaming at the top of my lungs that this is the greatest show I've ever seen. But it was a good show. It was it was a good time watching pro wrestling with some wrestlers that I really, really like. Look, I have nothing. I have nothing. And the business end of this card really worked, and it's a newsworthy show. On top of that, there's a lot of stuff that happened. I mean, I guess we'll start by talking about the most newsworthy item, and that is the fact that Jon Moxley defeated Tetsuya Naito to become the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, which was okay. It was a match that was set up and created equals amount of excitement and dread. There were a lot of fans who were excited at the idea of Jon Moxley and Naito fighting over a championship. Naito in North America, which doesn't happen very often. Naito doesn't like coming to the United States. When we talk about wrestlers coming over and big time Japanese wrestlers who want to come and make it in the US, it's a hell of a transition to come to the US to make this happen, and you have to be in that mindset first and foremost. I would be shocked and bewildered if one day Tetsuya Naito ends up working for full time. I mean, for one of the North American promotions. I don't think he likes it enough in the US to make it happen. So there was a culmination of things here in this match that came together. That made a lot of people excited, but also a lot of people dreaded the result of putting the title on Mox. There is a sentiment going around lots of New Japan circles that New Japan right now feels like AEW's little bro. Feels like AEW uses a lot of New Japan, but doesn't give much back. Takes their top talent away and leaves the company high and dry. Now, I'm going to speak on this very shortly because I see a lot of discussion around New Japan, AEW poaching, whatever terminology you want to, stealing talent away, swaying it away, poaching the talent. Here's the thing. If New Japan wanted to hang on to those talents, then they should have done gone through the necessary steps to hang on to their talent. If New Japan wanted to hang on to Kazuchika Okada and Will Ospreay, well, they knew what they had to do, But it was pretty clear that both guys in this circumstance, both of those guys wanted to leave New Japan because they felt like they had done everything that they could possibly do, and they were right, especially in Okada's point of view. What else could Kazuchika Okada do? Main event another Tokyo Dome? So a lot of people are upset that, they developed this relationship and then AEW is like poaching the talent, which is a term I don't agree with, just to be very clear. I don't agree with that terminology. Look, this is a business, and AEW opened up the coffers, and this is another thing. It was like, folks are like, well, New Japan could have never, Bushiroad could have never competed with the amount of money that Tony Khan has at his disposal. And all I can do is shrug. Well, what do you want from me? It's like, okay, I know. That's the nature of a business, and these pro wrestlers are looking out for themselves. And if a guy like Okada saw the recession coming and he's seeing the boom in the United States and he's seeing the opportunity to go work there for shitloads of money, why wouldn't he take that opportunity? Do you think that if he ever goes back to New Japan, he will not be given a hero's welcome? what are we talking about? Same thing with Will. I think these people are ostracized and banned, and it's finito for both of them. Come on now, let's be realistic, okay? So this idea, this dread, that Naito was going to lose the title to Moxley, right? I'm not arguing, I'm not arguing that it's a bit of a weird idea, but it's also something that's been circulating, that you've been hearing, that, look, you don't know how much Naito still has in the gas tank. This is another guy that's falling apart, right? Tanahashi's washed. I hope we can all come to this conclusion. The glory days are behind him. We've been seeing this moment coming for years, and we're in it. It started like last year. Tanahashi is no longer the guy who he once was, right? And yet he's still considered one of the top stars of the company. Naito is considered one of the top stars of the company, probably their most popular star. But there's another guy who we don't know how much he has left. The injuries, what's catching up with him? Maybe he just needs a break. It could be just as simple as that. Could be just like the last few tours, the last tour he was on, the New Japan Cup stuff. Maybe he's like, no, you know what? I need a break from all of this now for a couple of months and then come back stronger. It could be, there's a lot of, and you couple that, and this I completely endorse, by the way. You couple that with the feeling that not only that to go along with the little bro status of New Japan, in regards to AEW, that a lot of fans feel is a thing. Couple that with New Japan putting its titles on Western wrestlers who become absentee champions. Nick Nemeth, Matt Riddle, right? There's a lot of apprehension that Jon Moxley was going to be one of those as well. Oh, look, all of the top championships are all on Western guys who don't wrestle for the company, and then they disappear for months. They disappear, they don't do tours. What's the point? And that makes sense to me. That I agree with. A lot of people were dreading the idea of Jon Moxley, putting the title on Jon Moxley was the right idea, but they did. They did. And in a match that I really liked. I thought it was a great match. I thought it was very, very good. Mox, being himself, putting on a great brawling performance once again, and getting bloodied up. Naito took care of that. They slug it out, and John is just, Moxley is just bleeding a gusher here. Like it is cascading and it's staining Naito's body. He's drenched in his blood. He goes for a Destino. Naito does, but it's blocked by a cutter. Then Mox does a Death Rider. Naito kicks out. Naito does a Destino. Mox kicks out. He goes for another Destino. It's blocked. There's another Death Rider and another kick out, a Lariat. And at 20 minutes in, we get a Death Rider. Mox wins the championship. This was solid. It was a solid fight. It was a great brawl. I guess this, the story at this point is that Tetsuya Naito doesn't have the formula to defeat Jon Moxley yet. He hasn't figured it out because he's not quite used to this type of brawl. I liked it. I thought that was a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. I gave it 4 stars. So Mox is the champion, and what if putting the title on Moxley is the right idea, right? And because look, I'm not arguing that putting the title on Naito was a bad idea. Absolutely not. Because his metrics so far, since being champion, have proven that his championship run is anything but a bomb, right? But Moxley is a popular presence in New Japan Pro Wrestling crowds. He gets good reactions. He's always positioned high on the card as well. And he's shown love for Japan and New Japan. And, you know, if only by him getting his resident card, right? You can see what he wants out of this, right? He wants to be able to travel there whenever he wants, spend some time there and work and do what he loves. You know, he didn't just get the card because he likes visiting the Shinto shrines in Wakayama. You know, and, you know, there's, you know, I again, you know, to run parallel to the little bro feelings, you know, Mox's relationship with New Japan always seemed to run deeper than the AEW partnership, right? If they were, you know, since they belted him up, it doesn't come across as out of left field decision than, let's say, you were to belt up Samoa Joe or MJF, for instance, right? And Mox, like I said, Mox's relationship doesn't feel like that way. It feels more authentic. It feels more organic. He comes across less like an AEW star in New Japan, but more like a big time gaijin who's just happens to be part of the family, if that makes sense. That's how he comes off, I find, to me. You know, the occasional aspect of it, you know, oh, he's going to be an occasional champion. He's going to show up only once in a while. Well, look, he's already started getting bookings. We'll talk about that in a bit, but, you know, it's a legitimate concern, like I said, considering Nemeth, considering Riddle. However, Mox hasn't been involved in any AEW programs for weeks at this point. You know, the focus of the company right now, leading into Dynasty, is Swerve, Joe, Ospreay, Monet, the Bucks, Danielson's Dream Match Parade, right? It's plausible that he can go do tours in Japan, you know, unfettered by his professional obligations, only fettered by his, you know, his home life obligations, I guess. Could he do better, or at least, you know, this is the other thing. Could he do better, or at least equal business for New Japan as Naito has so far? Sure. Can't be any worse than Sonata, right? Am I right, fellas? Can't be any worse. And look, you know, maybe New Japan sees value in having their top belt being held by a beloved pro wrestler on American television. You know, they have aspirations to break into the United States. You know, the company still wants to do that, and they see AEW as the way to go. Look, it's not as if their numbers on Access TV are setting the ratings world on fire after Impact. Hell, they're moving New Japan on Access Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. instead of Thursday nights after Impact, right? You see how all of this is sort of correlating in a business aspect for New Japan. But you know, they don't have, on the flip side, New Japan doesn't have the mind share that they used to have in North America before AEW came around, right? Because a lot of us who were sick of WWE turned to New Japan to get what we were really looking for, right? We were all subscribed to World and so on and so forth. Well, AEW now scratches that itch a lot more. It's more accessible. It's on cable TV, so on and so forth. So it's safe to assume that New Japan recognizes that its growth lies in captivating fans in North America, since they still haven't given up on New Japan Pro Wrestling of America or Strong or whatever the hell they want to call it. And you know, you see the Wrestle Kingdom spikes. New Japan could do a lot worse than belting up Jon Moxley right now. Honestly, I think they really could do worse. But nonetheless, there's a lot of fans disappointed that Naito lost. I know a lot of Japanese fans are sort of shrugging and they're like, well, here goes Naito hitting the comeback trail, right? Sure, at some point, if you're an LIJ fan, this is your default attitude whenever Naito loses or doesn't win the big one or whatever the fuck. You're like, well, here we go again. It's kind of... But I wouldn't be surprised if Naito got it back. Like, who do you trust to fill up the dome in January, right? Who else? Who do they have left? Like we were talking about, Okada's gone. Will is gone. Tanahashi is main event. Hiroshi Tanahashi is a thing of the past now. I'm not. He's avoiding. Being one of the dads like the plague, but it's an inevitability at this point. All they have left, as far as a big drawing superstar, is Tetsuya Naito. Unless you absolutely strap up a guy and rocket strap up a guy and just, light the fuse and just let him rocket and it just tears ass. That's such a weird expression, but I understand. But unless you absolutely make a new guy, one of your top guys, until and you work at it until January to make sure that he's really one of the top guys, what do you do? Mox said he wants to defend his title against the young guys, right? That he said that in his post-match thing. And he was about to challenge Shota Umino, but Ren Narita interfered. I'm like, oh boy. Not, it's not the one that's getting my juices flowing. I understand Yota Tsuji just got a world championship shot, so, you can't, but, I get it. Don't worry. I get it. I understand. Doesn't mean I like it. I've told you all this before. You can understand something without liking it. But this all leads to Mox's first defense at Duntaku on May 4th. So that's going to be in Japan. So right off the bat here, we've got Jon Moxley, who's going to be on a flight. And he's going to be facing Ren Narita in Japan in just about 3 weeks. And lo and behold, then suddenly you have Tetsuya Naito suddenly saying he wants his title back to defend it against the young guys, right? Then he says this after the loss. Look, a lot of New Japan fans, myself included, have been wondering, when are we going to do something with the Reiwa 3 plus Yumera, right? When are we going to actually start investing into these guys and making them win the big ones, making them come across as tip-top guys, right? Because of how dire the situation right now in Japan is with their lack of real superstars, with the old guard that carried New Japan throughout the 2010s. They're all gone, or they can't go anymore, or they can't go as much as they could. It's just not happening anymore. So Mox comes out and he says, I want to defend this title with the new generation. I'm like, oh, there we go. There's a guy. They're answering a complaint here, something that a lot of people have been curious about and wondering, and so on and so forth. And then suddenly Naito is like, oh yeah, if I get my title back, I'm going to do it too. Like, come on. What's going on here? Then after that, at Resurgence on May 11, which is the next New Japan of America show, which is going to be in Vegas, I believe, we're getting Shota Umino to face the winner of Moxley versus Narita for the World Championship. Of course, it's going to be Jon Moxley. They're not belting up Ren Narita. Let's be honest here. We're getting Jon Moxley versus Shota Umino at Resurgence. And again, a lot of very irksome feelings here. A lot of people are borderlining being really mad about this because they would have liked to have Shota Umino and Jon Moxley at Dominion, which is arguably, I think it's more than arguably, I think it is New Japan's second biggest show of the year. It's their SummerSlam, essentially. It's their biggest, it's the big summertime show. And conventional wisdom, so conventional wisdom at this point would probably lead you to believe that Mox beats Shota at Resurgence, hangs on to the title, goes to Dominion to fight Naito, and drops it back to Naito at that moment there. So that Naito has the title leading into the G1, Wrestle Kingdom, so on and so forth. Now, is this a little safe booking? Yes. Is it a little boring? Yes. It's not exactly exciting, but I think it's a good way to establish Shota Umino in the US. Nonetheless, this makes him come across as a bigger deal. Look, no, I've said this before, but I'll reiterate it here. I fail to properly recall a pro wrestler who has benefited so much from a rub for so long as Shota Umino has with Jon Moxley. When Jon Moxley did the G1, what is it now, 5 years ago? When he did the G1 and had Umino as his young boy and had him cut these promos, right? The panty dropper promo. You all remember that one. That still one of the greatest backstage segments, backstage comments, press conference, whatever they call it, backstage commentary things in the history of New Japan. Just incredible work by Moxley. From that moment on, that kid was made. And I don't think anyone realizes how much that rub would carry him. Now, I find he's pretty over in Japan. I'm not saying he's more over here, but he's over here as well. And it's because of that association with Moxley. And I think he's getting the opportunities he has over in Japan because of that indirect association as well. I know they've tried to make him look like another Tanahashi and so on and so forth. And they've jettisoned a lot of the unnecessary gimmickry of his presentation. But look, the guy comes in through the audience, like never, from somewhere in the audience, right there. That's a signal. He's still carrying Mox's leather jacket. They still have him dressed up in colors and the glow sticks and whatnot. I drop that. They call him Roughneck. His presentation doesn't scream Roughneck. It screams flamboyant superstar, whatever, but not Roughneck. But he's benefited from this for so much. So making him come across as a bigger deal here, I think it's good. And on top of that, I think he can take an L here, he being Umino, without damaging him more than if he lost on the home front. Now, this is conventional wisdom, right? And I think all of this connects. I'm pretty sure it all makes sense to you who are listening right now. But my take on all of this is you have Shota Umino lose at Resurgence, okay? Mox drops the title at Dominion. That's fine. That's gravy. Shota Umino loses, wins the G1 though, and has a G1 to remember. Like Gedo putting this together, puts it all together and sits down everyone who's fighting Umino in a room and he says, your job is to get this kid over. I don't care about any of y'all, but your job is to get this kid over. He wins the G1 and then wins the strap at Wrestle Kingdom off of Naito. Or at the very least, again, because this guy has to be, this is how you could push him up into the next level by having him co-main event with Naito. Naito's going to draw, but Naito's not going to draw for the next 5 years. Naito's going to fall apart. Yota Tsuji, made man. Tsuji is the most effortless guy to put over because he's got all the naturals. He's got that incredible charisma. He looks the part. He acts the part. Like he's the alpha, right? You need a little more work with Shota, but Shota is going to get there. Shota has gotten there because I was off the Shota train for a while, if you remember correctly, last year, and he brought me back on. So I'm looking forward to what they're going to do with him this year. And that's what you do. You don't go with one of the old heads. You go with a new guy. This is the year that the Reiwa have to shine in the G1, particularly Shota. Shota should not have one match under great the entirety of the G1 to lead it into Wrestle Kingdom. At the very least, you give him a rematch in a special singles with Jon Moxley, where he finally defeats Jon Moxley. At the very least, that's neither here nor there. Now we're getting off track because, and here's look. Since we're talking about the G1, and I'll probably be covering the G1 this summer, let's preface this a little bit. Let's talk about the G1 for a second, and what I would hope for. Shota would benefit from winning the G1 in a slimmed down G1. Because there isn't 28 guys. We're back down to 12, field of 12, 14, whatever the fuck, 2 blocks. No more of this 8 block bullshit, this 4 block bullshit with, 8 guys in it, whatever the fuck. There's no reason to have a huge field. They don't have the people to fill it up anymore and keep this interesting. Like at some point, it's not like in the New Japan Cup where you get Yujiro in here, but Yujiro gets knocked out in round 1 and then you never have to see him again. We have to sit through Yujiro for 2 months having Yujiro matches. Or Chase Owens. You know what I mean? Like Tongaloa. We don't need these people in the G1. Bring this back to the essence of what the G1 is. Instead of filling it up with just everyone on the roster for some godforsaken reason, just put in the guys you want, put in the top guys, and let them have killer matches. And if it's streamlined and it's focused, the win of the G1 will be even more significant because it won't be as spread out. Won't be as, and I don't want to say difficult to follow. That's not what I'm trying to say. It won't be as the mind share won't be as spread out. You'll be able to hone in on it and really take the time to analyze and talk about it and get excited about stuff. Because you lose focus. You lose focus on, I found over the past couple of years, on the guys you really want to build because there's so many fucking people in the fucking G1. It's the C2, it's the Continental Classic last year that reminded me of the joy of a smaller field, where things always feel on the precipice of someone getting eliminated, of, oh Jesus, it's so close. Smaller fields are better for this. I hated the New Japan Cup this year because there was too many people and weird booking decisions all around that just turned it into the most mid of tournaments. One of the most mid tournaments I have ever seen. I love the G1 and I think it's tremendous and it's always a good time. But it's time to slim things down. And I think we should slim things down everywhere for all the big shows, for the Wrestle Kingdoms, for the WrestleManias. Stop putting everyone on the show. Put the people on there who have builds, who deserve it, where you can feel they are the backbone, right? Anyway, my point ultimately in regards to Shota Umino is that if he wins the G1 on a smaller field, it feels more significant. It feels better. It feels stronger. And I think that's what we need to do here. And I think that, look, we'll see how things go. Look, I'm done predicting what Gato's going to do. Like, I try to think, about what he may or may not do and so on and so forth. And it always turns out I'm wrong most of the time, because you're like, oh, now we're going to push the new guys, which was my G1 prediction last year. And it turns out, no, that wasn't what we did. Oh, Kaito Kiyomiya is going to have a really good G1. We're going to have the semifinal with Okada. Like, none of this. What am I doing? It's like all the things that make the most sense. So again, look, so I'm on record here. I think the conventional wisdom is, Mox versus Naito winning the belt back. Naito winning the belt back at Dominion. I think that's the conventional wisdom here. But I think what could be exciting about this is Umino tearing through the G1, like having an unabashed great G1, great matches, top tier results, like the winner of his block, whatever the fuck, great semifinal, mind-blowing main event. Like, this is the stuff that he has to do to get him to the next level. And then we lead to the Dome, where we have old versus new, right? New generation, old generation. I mean, old generation, but previous generation. It sells itself. You got Naito there to main event the Dome, to draw. We'll see what happens. And then you got Danielson hanging around that you can use if you want. I think I went off track, but so I guess those are my thoughts about the main event situation in New Japan. Jon Moxley. I'm recording this on Wednesday morning. Jon Moxley is going to be heading out to Dynamite today as IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. This might assuredly lead to an angle, maybe even a match at some point. Jay White could pop out, and that would be a blast. And, that could be a lot of fun. But are we already going to start setting some seeds for Forbidden Door? I don't know. But Moxley, first man to be a world champion in WWE, AEW, and New Japan Pro Wrestling, in all three. That's something to hang your hat on. That's something to hang the hat on. As it goes for the rest of the card, should we go down? What should we do? Well, because we've been talking about the main event for like 60 million hours here. Let's go from the top down then. We'll go in reverse order. Nick Nemeth defeated Tomohiro Ishii in a non-title match for the global title. I like this. Imagine Tomohiro Ishii dragging the fighting spirit out of Nick Nemeth, because that's exactly what happened here. You even have Ishii doing the zigzag, or whatever the fuck he calls it now. Can't call it a zigzag, but I had a good time. They're kicking out at one of their finishers, and Nemeth lands the zigzag for the win. And look, that's it. Look, imagine that. We got a really good match out of Nick Nemeth, courtesy of Tomohiro Ishii. And this was a bit of for a lot of fans, this was a litmus test, where it's like, look, if you can't pull it off against Tom Ish, what are we doing here, right? And, in my preview that I wrote over on voicesofwrestling.com, I had mentioned that, this was the match where, and I've talked about it here on the show as well. I want Nick Nemeth is doing things that he doesn't have to do, right? As a millionaire, he just wants to go out there and try things that he's never tried out before. This WWE system guy, he's been in here since like the late 2000s, mid 2000s, whenever the fuck they did the Spirit Squad. I don't remember these details, but he's been with them since that time. This guy's a millionaire how many times over. And if he wanted to sit back, collect, and just collect royalty checks or whatever the fuck and wait till Triple H calls him back and say, hey, we'd like you back for, whatever. That'd be great. But he wanted to go out there and show that he had something. He's working Impact. He's working New Japan. And in New Japan, you're sort of like, okay, well, let's see if he can hang with Japanese pro wrestlers. And so far, up until Tomohiro Ishii was like, But now that he's crossed the Ishii bar, the gatekeeper to a degree, I'm like, okay, well, he's got it in him. Because you'd have to be a complete dud to not be able to work with Ishii on a match, right? But he did, and it was a pretty good little match that they had. I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. But now, his dream match is against Tanahashi, and that's coming up at, I can't remember, is it Dontaku or Resurgence? I think it's Dontaku, right? It's coming up during the one of the upcoming tours. Broken down Tanahashi and Nick Nemeth. Like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I don't know how this is going to go. Can Nemeth work a G1, for instance? Can they just drop him in there and expect him to? Could he do it? I don't know. But I'd like to see. I don't know. I'm still kind of rooting for FKA Dolph. I'm rooting for him. I'm not excited about him yet. He didn't fail his test against Ishii, but he's still, he didn't fail, but I feel like he still has something to show. I think he still has something to prove, and that's okay, but he's not tearing the house down let's say when Jon Moxley was unshackled from WWE and went to New Japan, and then it was like, oh shit, let's go. It's not the same. I mean, it's got to be difficult to shake off a style that you've been working for the entirety of your career, not just the majority, the entirety of your career, for about 20 years, working this one same style, working in ways that don't necessarily connect with other audiences. Anyway, I enjoyed this match a lot. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Matt Riddle to become, once again, New Japan Pro Wrestling World Television Champion. I thought this was pretty good. I gave this 3.5 stars for those of you who are keeping track and are even remotely interested. But I thought this was pretty good. At the 10-minute mark, you've got Zack, who drops a Zack driver and a half crab by Matt Riddle, German suplex and the floating bro. At the 3-minute mark, they're striking each other. Ripcord knee by Riddle. Super close near fall by Zack Sabre Jr. reversing out of a move, but it's a matchbox pin for Sabre to get the win over Matt Riddle, who no-sells the loss and hits the bricks. So, for all intents and purposes, I think it's safe to assume, from what we have seen and what we have not seen past this, that Matt Riddle is done with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think that's a safe gamble. If you got that on your betting sheets, I think he's done. Why is he done? That's a very good question. No one knows for sure. There's been rumblings circulating that he kind of caught heat with the office, New Japan office, because he was booking title defenses on the indies without their approval, and might be some other, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. This is just rumors that have been circulating. I will not miss Matt Riddle in New Japan. I'm actually breathing a sigh of relief. Like, oh, thank God. I don't know. Like, you know, I do remember a time where Matt Riddle was, you know, was heralded as, you know, probably the next really big wrestling superstar. And then he got into his own way. But like, even the work that he's been doing in New Japan, I think is fine. You know, it's fine. But we're again a long stretch from, you know, the explosive stuff he used to do, particularly in Evolve, you know. It's been a weird trajectory for him, but, you know, he, to a degree, he only has himself to blame. Yeah, I'm not, you know, it's not a pity party I'm throwing here. And I, for one, am okay with him and his goofy ass face not being featured on a promotion that I regularly watch. That's absolutely fine by me. And if he just, you know, if he's sore about it and, you know, he wants to hit the bricks, well, there you go. Well, he can go hang out in MLW. Things are going very well for him in MLW. Look, it just goes to show. This is a guy, you know, this is a guy who probably thought he was a bigger superstar than he was, you know, but he got grounded pretty quickly here. You know, the shenanigans, New Japan is not putting up with his shenanigans, and they're like, no, we're not doing this. Thank you, but no thank you, and whatever, you know. So that's it. That's done. Not a big, because look, let's just say that he was doing, you know, indie defenses of the World TV title that weren't okayed by the office. You know, first of all, any promotion worth its salt should be very protective of how their titles are used, basically. So that's one thing. Absolutely. If New Japan didn't want him using it on whatever the fuck independent promotion, well, that's fine. Because on top of that, let's not forget the TV title is also the title that creates content for New Japan's social media, for their YouTube channel, for Twitter, for whatever the fuck. And, you know, because the matches go up for free. That's the idea. They're 15-minute matches, in and out, and they're available for free on New Japan World, wherever, right? So they being New Japan have to reach out and get the footage for these matches. That's the thing. It's a TV title. So if he's fighting, and I don't know, if he set up a match in, you know, bumfuck Iowa, and he's got, you know, there's no recording, there's no streaming. New Japan is like, well, what the fuck, man? Or even if there is, then they have to reach out to this promotion to get the footage. A promotion that they likely don't have any, you know, partnerships with, because Riddle decided to go into business and, you know, set this up himself. You know, I can understand that the office is like, no, this isn't going to work, pal. So he's been kept off TV. They haven't been doing much with him, which again, I thought was weird, because this is the title that's supposed to create content, but they didn't put him on Sakura Genesis or on the, you know, tours leading up. So I was like, something's fishy. Like, even there, I was like, something's not right here. And there might be other stuff too. Like, I might be completely off base, is what I'm saying. But, you know, from what I've gathered, this makes sense because of everything that the TV title involves operationally, on an operational basis for New Japan. You know, you've all watched independent streams, right? I'm assuming, you know, and some of them, you know, not all indie shows being streamed are created equal. They're not all Deadlock Pro, right? So if you as New Japan reach out to this indie promotion that has two guys, you know, and one hard cam on a tripod, filming the thing, and it, you know, the lighting shit and maybe the audio shit, and you have to try to get this footage to put it up on your streaming service and on your, And you're like, no, this stinks. This makes us look like fucking rank amateurs. We don't want this. I understand it. I completely get it. Anyway, no big deal. Hit the bricks this was an emergency move to put it back on Zack Sabre Jr., who is the man who defined the championship. And I think it's tremendous. And he said it himself. Look, I had aspirations for the world title, but I'm just going to recollect this baby in the meantime. Yeah. So he's still taking a moment here to remind us that, hey, I still want to win the big one. And we've been talking about Shota Umino quite a bit in the previous thing here, but Zack Sabre Jr.'s star has been rising tremendously, and I think he's someone who will 1,000% benefit from the disappearance of Kazuchika Okada and Will Ospreay, because I think fans will gravitate towards him as someone that they've known who is credible in their eyes, who comes across as a star. If they can have him cross over into that big pantheon of world champions, I think they've got another winner on their head. There's another potential here. I still think Shota Umino at the Dome is the bigger match, but look, nonetheless, he's in this mix as well, which leads me to believe that he is absolutely a transitional champ. And they've established that the next challenger is going to be Jeff Cobb. He and Jeff Cobb had two of the best TV title defenses or matches throughout Zach's OG run. I'm entirely for it. And you know what? Jeff Cobb as New Japan TV title champion fucking rules. 15 matches in and out. He squashes dudes, beats them down. I think it works perfectly for Cobb. I think it's perfect. I don't think anyone here wants to sit down and, watch 30-minute Jeff Cobb matches. I think a 15-minute time limit helps him keep his shit together, makes him feel explosive. I think there's ways to bring back the old Jeff Cobb here, in this type of environment. I think he'd be a perfect fit to take this off of Zach. Japanese fans know him. They like him a lot. He's over there as well. Big dude. It would rock. I think it would be a great fit if they wanted to do this, to get the title off of Sabre and then move on. Anyway, I gave did I tell you 3.5 for this match? Solid match. Sayonara, Matt Riddle. The Riot Rules match, team Eddie Kingston lost to team Gabe Kidd. It was pretty much how we figured it was going to go, right? Gabe Kidd, was the thing with the mystery partners, won't be revealed until, and it was Bullet Club guys. It was Dave Finlay, Clark Connors, War Dog guys specifically, and Kenta. And I groaned so loudly. I was like, oh, fuck off. And then Eddie Kingston brought in the United Empire, Jeff Cobb and TJP. All right. And Homicide. And I'm like, of course. Why didn't I think of that? Why did I not think of that? I didn't care much for this. Where is it? I gave it the Gentleman's 3. Because it's a plunder match with barbed wire. There's Aswang Mist. Homicide, gets the fork out, and I don't know. I feel like I've seen this match a million times. I thought the post-match stuff was pretty good, but stuff happens, and Gabe Kidd pile drives Homicide for the win. I don't know. I feel like I've seen this match a million zillion times. They're building Eddie Kingston versus Gabe Kidd pretty well, if you ask me. As far as a rivalry, as a feud goes, And I think Gabe Kidd is going to be very well positioned to take the title off of Eddie. So on that end, you can't fault them. But I don't know. I wasn't into this match to begin with. With all the mystery people where I'm like, I bet I know who all these people are. Mustafa Ali defeated Hiromu Takahashi. I like this match a lot. I gave it 3 3/4 stars, but I was expecting more. And look, one of the things that took me out of it was all the stuff with the buff Daryl, which is cute and funny. And I was like, that's fine. But I think it took over too much in the match, right? I think there's ways to do comedy in pro wrestling that doesn't take away from the match. That doesn't become, you do your bits, but it doesn't take away from the match itself. Not recent, but for a while before Orange Cassidy really started getting more serious in AEW, during his match, they would knock out the comedy bits like within the first act of the match, right? He'd do the shin kicks, he'd do the pockets, all that stuff. He'd do all the things that people really like and cheer for and that are fun. But then the rest of the match is all business. Then you drop that. Once that's out of the way, the rest of the match is all business. And this isn't exactly what happened. The Daryl thing was too much and it sort of distracted me. And besides, I was expecting more here. And I've been expecting more from Mustafa Ali as well. And honestly, I think this was my favorite match of his that I've seen since he also left WWE or has been gone from WWE. But in the respect that we've seen Mustafa Ali do bigger, grander, more exciting things in the past. In the considering that he had been putting videos of himself doing sparring in his gym, and everyone's going, oh my God, where is that spark? Where is this thing that really puts him over where he can get into the ring with a guy like Hiromu Takahashi? And why aren't they tearing the house down? This was a very good match, but why isn't this lighting up the night? Why aren't we spending, days afterward dissecting this match and going crazy about it and saying match of the year and so on? This is what I'm expecting from Mustafa Ali, and I don't feel it. It's a Nick Nemeth type of situation where I'm like, okay, well, he hung with Takahashi, but as opposed to Nick Nemeth, I expect Mustafa Ali to be better than what WWE ingrained into him, And so far, he hasn't been bad by any stretch of the imagination. But it hasn't been blowing my mind. I haven't been sitting here going, Jesus Christ, this is great. This is must watch. I'm not sitting here recommending this match enthusiastically to you all, which I kind of was expecting. 10 minutes pass and not much happens in this match. And then I'm scratching my head and I don't understand. There's a Falcon Arrow by Hiromu Takahashi later on, and a tremendous, huge dive by Ali. But you got busted open hard way on it, and a sunset power bomb and a 450 for the win. And some people said, oh, they probably went to the finish quicker. No, it didn't feel like they rushed the ending. I don't know. Again, I'm complaining. I'm complaining, but while I'm saying this is a match I really, really liked, 3 3/4 stars. I thought this was very, very, very good. But yet here I'm going on and I'm bitching. But am I wrong for thinking that Mustafa Ali should be should be tearing it up more than he has. Like it just feels complacent. I don't know. Shota Umino defeated Jack Perry. Oh, Jesus Christ, right? Oh, man. Like, outside of the main event, after everything that happened over the past week, this was the match I think that most fans were most excited to see outside of the main event. And Jack Perry, like I posited here, like, you know, came out, the Chicago crowd was ready to eat him alive. There were CM Punk chants. He comes out draped in a Chicago flag. He played into it as he should. He should. This is tremendous. Oh, cry me a river chants. This crowd was molten. I had people, colleagues, acquaintances, friends who were on location and were DMing me and were saying, no, these, you know, it's deafening here. You can't hear anything. People are livid. And that was, he had the heat. Jack Perry here had the heat. And he worked to it. He worked to it through his entire entrance, which was deafening. Shota Umino even does the Jungle Boy stuff, you know, the arm waves, and he strings together some offense until Jack Perry low blows the ref, draping DDT on the floor, a Liger Bomb by Perry, and then he heals it up, and he's just soaking in every moment, then Shota Umino hits the ignition. They do some strikes, Poison Rana by Perry, who does a kill switch, calling back to his old mentor, which I thought was a nice touch. He signals for the GTS because of course he is. Shota Umino kicks out. Death Rider by Shota Umino gets the job done. But so you know, obviously, you know, Jack Perry's leaving the territory, going out on his back, putting over Umino, who he had a rivalry with. This was fine. This is actually I gave this 4 stars. I gave this 4 stars, if not for the, you know, the atmosphere of this match definitely helped. I thought this was tremendous. It was a blast. And who knew Jack Perry, who a lot of people had complained about, their main gripe with Jack Perry was that he has no personality. He's, you know, he's plastic. Who would have known that the heel turn here would be so successful, that it would work for him so well? Because it does. It did. It will continue to work well for him as well. This is good stuff. I don't know who couldn't have not enjoyed this. You know, only the most bitter of CM Punk fans, I guess. The most bitter of CM Punk fans. I'm excited to see what he's how his reception in AEW is going to be now moving forward. Knowing that there is crossover between New Japan and AEW fans, I'm very excited to see how this is going to happen. I, like pretty much everyone else, is expecting him to join the New Elite, and I think that's a tremendous spot for him. I think, you know, Okada and the Bucks right now are doing absolutely phenomenal work. So yeah, I think that this is very good. Let's see. TMDK, the OG duo of Mikey Nichols and Shane Hayes, defeated El Fantasmo and Hikuleo, Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler, and the West Coast Wrecking Crew to become New Japan Strong Openweight Tag Team champions. I don't have many thoughts here. I thought this was pretty good. I thought this was a pretty good match. Don't get me wrong. I gave it 3.25 stars. I thought this was very good. Yeah, listen, it's hard for me to care about the 4th string New Japan tag title belts the world, the junior. You can even throw in the fucking 6-man, and I don't have much to add. It was fine. And, Tama Tonga is in New Japan, is in WWE now. What is he waiting for? Bring your brothers over. And I'm looking forward to El Fantasmo cracking the code and unlocking this superstar that is within him. This is what I'm looking forward to. This is what I want out of this stuff. Anyway, I don't have much to add here. Stephanie Vaquer defeated Azumi in a really good match. Very, very good match. Great little way to start the show. This was second from the top. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. Azumi is she's done a lot of work in the US, sticking around after the WrestleMania weekend stuff, and I think I think people are discovering her, finding out how good she is, how competent, her speed is what I'm trying to say. How speedy she is, and how that's really her signature. So that's also very good. Yeah, I mean, she, Vaquer, also, she's such a great striker, such a tremendous striker. And her offense always looks strong and hard. And I can understand why a lot of people are really, really into her. I like Vaquer a lot. And she gets the win here with her stuffed backbreaker finisher, because they're continuing her push to become the strong women's champion. Forgot to mention there were quite a bit of post match segments here to set up matches later down the line here. I forgot to say that the West Coast Wrecking Crew took down Tom Lawler and Fred Rosser after. So, Fred Rosser, not Fred Rosser, but, Team Lawler and the West Coast Wrecking Crew were, of course, friends. They were allies, and Team Filthy now doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Vaquer and Azumi here. Vaquer was challenged by Alex Windsor to a match, so that's going to be on, I think they're doing it on Resurgence. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but that's coming up as well. Yeah, very good match, especially following the Minoru Suzuki versus Ren Narita match, which is essentially, an extended Minoru Suzuki pattern match. Congratulations on Minoru Suzuki for getting his first New Japan booking of 2024. It's one part Suzuki pattern match, one part New Japan match. Narita stalled and looked to cheat, and he eventually did, distracts the ref using the bar. Which was fine, unspectacular. I gave it 3 stars. And then we had the pre-show matches. Matt Vandegrift defeated Zane J in a strong Survivor match. Fine. And Alex Windsor and Trish Adora defeated Mina Shirakawa and Viva Van in a good little opening tag team match featuring the women. That's fine. Nothing to write home about. I don't have many thoughts about it. So we'll just move on from this show, which, look, it's an eventful show, newsworthy, lots of stuff happening. If anything, I recommend the main event, and I recommend Jack Perry versus Shota Umino, which was a complete and utter blast. The latter end of the show is pretty decent. Zack Sabre Jr. and Matt Riddle Nick Nemeth and Tomohiro Ishii, but nothing that I can sit here and say go out of your way to watch this. But you know, if you watch the entire show, you will not be bored. You'll have a good time watching the show. If you only have time for a match or two, it's the main event and Perry versus Umino. If you have a little more time, but not too much time, then the business end of the show. Like that's all. That's how you go about watching it. You can skip the Riot Rules match, which I really didn't care for. There you go. Windy City Riot. Since we're on the topic of New Japan Pro Wrestling, I also watched New Japan Wrestling World in Taiwan 2024. So you don't have to. Trust me. You don't have to watch this show. So I'm going to review it very, very quickly because I want to get to, because I do want to talk some New Japan, some AEW, I should say. But, you know, since we'll get the New Japan stuff out of the way, this happened on April 14 from New Taipei in Taiwan. This was one of the first big events of the National Pacific, the Japanese Pacific Wrestling Association, the Association for Japanese Wrestling in the Pacific area, whatever the fuck they call it. I don't remember. But it was like it was their first big event in Taipei. Started off with Toyu defeating Axe Wang. That's Axe Wang. AXE. Axe Wang. WANG. No, I know it's Wang. I am being stupid. But I wasn't listening to commentary when I was watching it. Or commentary was very, very low. And then I see the name appear on screen and it was written Axe Wang. And I'm like, excuse me? And I put it up and I hear, Walker calling him Wong, Axe Wong. And I'm like, okay. But I mean, it's still Axe Wang to me. And completely forgettable. So, look, Toyu apparently is the trainer of the Puzzle Dojo in Taiwan. So, he goes over here, but I thought his offense was soft. I thought his offense was so very soft and slow. And this Axe Wong guy seems to have a little more to him, but I mean, whatever the fuck. Then the big attraction here, the reason why I decided to watch it, is because of they had announced a tournament for the Never Openweight 6-man tag titles. And I was like, oh, a one night only tournament. This should be exciting. But, they basically had 4 teams and it was one knockout round. And then it's straight to the finals. So Hiroshi Tanahashi, Toru Yano, and Oleg Boltin defeated the United Empire crew of Great-O-Khan, Francesco Akira, and Callum Newman. I'm looking for my notes here. Okay. I gave this 2 and 2.5 stars. No, 2 and 3. I gave it 2 3/4 stars. I guess this was okay. Humdrum, normal match. Nothing that you wouldn't see at on a tour. Lower card tour match, whatever, as opposed to a tournament match. And this is my main gripe, I think, of this entire thing. It's like these matches didn't feel, they didn't have that urgency feel. They didn't have that drive where you're like, oh, we're going for titles. This is a tournament. We got to work hard. No, it was like, okay, we'll do things. Then the second knockout match was the House of Torture crew of Evil, Sho and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, defeating the LIJ boys, Shingo Takagi, Yota Tsuji, and Bushi. There was a heat segment on Yota Tsuji here. Shingo Takagi fights back with the hot tag, but then we go into House of Torture patterns. Bushi gets the visual tap on Sho. But on the visual tap, but they get the wrench involved. Shock arrow. Sho gets the win for his team. You could see this coming with the baby faces winning the other match. Like Hiroshi Tanahashi, like, oh, okay, of course it's going to be House of Torture. I gave this 2 3/4 stars as well. Satoshi Kojima and Tiger Mask defeated El Desperado and Shoma Kato. I give this 3 1/4 stars. I didn't hate this. I thought this was good. It's always a blast to see Satoshi Kojima. Again, I think congratulations on his first booking in New Japan Pro Wrestling in 2024. I believe, or I could be mistaken. I feel like I've seen him before. I think this is wrong. He was on another show. This is wrong. I apologize. I can't remember the show. I think he showed up on a strong undercard, right? Kojima did? No, I was wrong. This is his first booking. No, not that I was wrong. My gut was right. This was his first. This was indeed his first booking of 2024. So good for Kojima. Good work, pal. But no, I didn't hate this match. I thought it was I thought it was pretty good. He does the machine gun chops on El Desperado, spine buster by Despe on Tiger Mask, followed by a Boston Crab by Shoma Kaito, and a butterfly suplex by Tiger Mask into a key lock. Tiger Driver gets the win. Yeah, it's fine. Well worked. It was all right. Not much to say. Moving on. Starlight Kid defeated Hanako. I like Starlight Kid a lot. She's great. Hanako, not so much. I think she has a long way to go. I don't think she's a great worker, whereas SLK is. But they play up the fact that Starlight Kid is much shorter than Hanako to start this off, and a tornado DDT on the floor. We'll even that out though. She works Hanako's knee throughout the match, crushes into the corner, and even does a numero dos. Hanako does a torture rack. She lands in some strikes, but SLK rolls her up into another numero dos, clasping the arm. Frog splash by SLK. Hanako avoids the moonsault. Suplex follows, an electric chair slam, but a Rana into a roll-up by SLK gets the win. SLK rules. Hanako not so much. I gave this 3 1/4 star. I think with a better opponent, Starlight Kid could have shined more. I really, really like Starlight Kid. She's got a ton of personality. I'm hoping she'll be part in some way of this Despe Invitational that El Desperado's putting together in a couple of, like in June, right? Hopefully she'll be in there in some way or fashion, because I think there's a good connection, a good relationship there. Doki defeated Kosei Fujita to become the #1 contender for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. Starts up fast. Doki does a control segment, springboard dropkick as well. Doki even gets the Doki Choki locked in very early. They trade submissions on each other. Then Doki continues getting a good series of offense in, which leads to the Doki Choki, the Daybreaker DDT, but Fujita kicks out. German suplex by Fujita and some strikes. German with bridge. But Doki takes the win with the suplex de la Luna. To the delight of many, because everyone likes Doki. This was 3 1/4 again for me. I don't know. Maybe I was in a bad mood, but I feel like nothing really like rose above. Thought everything was competent, well done, and that's about it. But so Doki moves on. He's going to be the #1 contender. He's going to be taking on Sho. I think it's on the tour to Duntaku. Like, I don't think it's on Duntaku, like on the final night, but it's on one of the, I don't know. Might be talking out of my ass again. Bishamon defeated the Just Five Guys duo of Sonata and Yuya Uemura. This was pretty good. And I think this is the match of the night. I thought this had some good action, well paced, well put together. Even though Sonata is what he is, people really like Bishamon, and they're a good tag team at the same time. So you can't fault anyone here. This was pretty good. 3.5 stars. We get a quick flash cover by Yoshihashi to get the win. It's completely fine. 3.5 stars. And then we have the finals of the 6-man, never open weight 6-man tag team title tournament, where Hiroshi Tanahashi, Toru Yano, and Oleg Boltin defeated the House of Torture trio. Look, I gave it 3.25 star. It was the better of the tournament matches, but not quite a main event that tears the house down. I don't know. Oleg Boltin is a young lion who is now a title holder in New Japan Pro Wrestling. That doesn't happen very often, but that was tremendous. That was really, really good for him, and he did his gut wrench thing where he's swinging people around, and it's fine, You don't have to watch this show. There's nothing really to watch. Just like Battle of the Belts. Just like Battle of the Belts 10 from AEW, and happened on that was broadcast on April 13, 2024 from Highland Heights, Kentucky at the Truist Arena. Apparently did a really good rating, especially up against UFC 300. So good for them. But again, not the story of the Battle of the Belts shows continue. They just go on and on and on and on. And where it's like, why is this happening? Why is it always these lower belts that we don't really have any attachment to are always defended here? The matches are subpar. Why is this even a thing? Like, I say this every time there's a Battle of the Belts, but when this came out, a lot of us were expecting like a Clash of the Champions type of thing. This is obvious. This was the obvious reference where the World Championship would be defended and we'd have like a super card, right? But this is just like, I don't know, Rampage 2 with titles. What is this? And it's the same thing again. Look, Hook defeated Shane Taylor to retain the FTW title, and I don't know, 2.75 stars. It did nothing for me. I didn't care for it. I know there's story and background to this. It all, connects to the Shane Taylor Productions feud with Hook and Chris Jericho and all that stuff. And the story here is that Hook can take out really big guys like Shane Taylor, sure, but man, just a lot of pummeling, a lot of methodical wrestling throughout. And look, if they were, I don't know what was supposed to happen here. I don't know if there was some kind of breakdown, but Hook didn't look all that great. Shane Taylor didn't look all that great. This was kind of plotting. It was a little dull. Let's move on. Red Room for the win. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't get it. I didn't get it. And the Hook is obviously not in a place where he can elevate himself, or he's still lacking some experience in that front. Roderick Strong defeated Rocky Romero to retain the international title. It wasn't bad, but it lacked zazz. It lacked some zazz. You want some zazz in your wrestling matches, and this match, unfortunately, was lacking in the zazz department. Rocky Romero isn't as compelling as a babyface as he is a heel. His CMLL stuff is just absolutely fantastic. As a babyface, Of course, there's a backbreaker from Roderick Strong, rewind in Zaguri and an avalanche slice bread by Rocky Romero. The Kingdom get involved in the match. Roderick Strong, in a great spot though, catches Rocky Romero out of the air with a jumping knee strike, and that just gets the win. I like the finish because Rocky's just like flying willy-nilly through the air, and then Roderick Strong just like blam, blasts him with the knee. That would finish a guy off. I like the finish here. That was good. I gave it 3 stars though. I thought that no zazz. Well worked. Gentleman's 3, no zazz. After the match, Kyle O'Reilly comes out to celebrate, and then he, keeps the Kingdom from attacking Rocky Romero because apparently they're friends, and that prompts the Kingdom to attack, or specifically Roderick Strong to attack Kyle O'Reilly, and this sets up their match for AEW Dynasty. Okay. And the main event, Athena took on Red Velvet. This was pretty good. Match of the night. I mean, but, bar isn't very high. And honestly, this was really a showcase for how great Athena is. How much power she puts into her offense and her strikes. Everything she does looks brutal and real, and it works. Red Velvet is Red Velvet, and until she starts working more, I don't. This is starting to feel like her ceiling. Maybe she needs more reps. Maybe she needs more time to do stuff. But sometimes her stuff looks good. Sometimes it doesn't. And Athena is just consistent throughout. Like, she is absolutely tremendous. Does the O-face for the win here. If anything, this match was a showcase for Athena. That's essentially what it was. Nothing wrong with that. But, I know there's a lot of Red Velvet believers out there, and I haven't thrown in the towel on her either. Because I think it's not the same thing as Hikaru Shida, where Shida is an experienced pro wrestler. She wrestles a lot, or she wrestled a lot. She used to wrestle a lot. Now, she doesn't anymore, and now everything she does looks soft. I'm off that train for now. She can get me back on, but I'm off the train. I'm still on the Red Velvet one, because I think on the opposite, she needs reps. She needs more wrestling. She would be someone who would benefit from working every week, getting the Sky Blue push of late 2023, excuse me. That would be something I think that could be beneficial for her, because I feel ultimately it was beneficial for Sky Blue, because I don't think Sky Blue has been this good since starting up with AEW. I think she's improved tremendously. Why not Red Velvet? Well, she needs to wrestle more. Does she wrestle more on Ring of Honor? Probably. I don't know. I don't watch Ring of Honor. So maybe I'm talking through my ass. Maybe she is getting the reps in and her ceiling is being hit. I don't know. Anyway, again, Battle of the Belts. I watched it, so you don't have to. There's no point. Unless you're an Athena completionist. I can understand why you'd want to watch Athena and see her on AEW. And I still can't believe there are people who keep Ring of Honor shit off of my AEW. Why is this an issue? Why is this a problem? Why is it a problem? And I heard the same thing, why is it a problem that that Ring of Honor people come on Battle of the Belts to defend their titles? Who cares? Do you really care that much? Do you really care that bad? Is it that big of a fucking deal for you? Really? Is it that big of a deal that Athena's here? Because then I have people at the same time saying Athena needs to be on AEW TV. Now she's on AEW TV. Oh, keep the Ring of Honor shit off my TV. Jesus Christ. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter. It's funny how you never hear that when, you didn't hear that a couple of weeks ago when Ilya Dragunov was on Raw. Keep that NXT shit off of my TV. No one was complaining when Roxanne Perez was on Raw as well. Keep that shit on. No one complains when main roster stars end up on NXT. What is that? I don't understand why this is such of a hang up for a lot of people. I don't understand it. I really don't. the sanctity of the promotion. Like, who fucking cares? Who fucking cares? We're in an era where wrestlers can wibbly wobbly move between promotions much more freely. Tony Khan owns them both. Let him do whatever the fuck he wants. I don't care. I don't care that much. It's not that important to me. Let's wrap this up by previewing AEW Dynasty. Programming note: I'm going to be joining Fred and Tyler over at the Good, the Bad, and the Hungry podcast, which is the AEW weekly podcast on the Voices of Wrestling Network. I'll be joining them tomorrow to give like a true in-depth preview of Dynasty here. So if you want even more extended takes on this, you want to hear me come and ruin another person's show, it'll be the greatest time to do it. So sign up for that. Subscribe to them. The Good, the Bad, the Hungry. You can also find it on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. But as it stands right now, I think we have the full card for Dynasty this weekend. Might have a couple of matches added, right? There might be some pre-show matches. Might be still a match to add on the card itself, but after Dynamite tonight. But this is what we have so far. Main event, of course, is going to be Samoa Joe versus Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Championship. Now, there are multiple times there are a couple of ways to see this match, to see the result, right? Because a lot of people feel that this is Swerve's time to win the belt. I happen to lean on that side, for your information. That this is the time to belt up Swerve, make things interesting, try something out new. It's been a long road to get to this spot, and sure, I'm absolutely for it. I often say, if you have the match, book it. If you have the situation, book it, make it happen. I think Swerve is at a height of popularity right now. It would make sense to do it. I absolutely get it. I also get people who may be a little more reticent towards going all in on Swerve as well at this stage. Maybe they feel he's not quite ready. Maybe they feel that they could that this story could be stretched out a little bit, which is not entirely a bad idea, mind you. I seem to fall on the. I also have a good feel for this, where it's like this title win would be much more meaningful if he got it off of Hangman Page, right? Like, I thought that they were going to belt up Page again, that he was going to take it off Joe in some way, and then dodge Swerve, right? Because the story is that Hangman will do everything in his power to make sure that Swerve never becomes world champion, and this might play into this match as well. Look, I have been. This is not me saying Swerve Strickland should not be world champion. If you've been a longtime listener to this podcast, you know that I've been claiming world championship material for this guy for years. Like, even when he was doing the hit row bullshit, carrying Top Dollar to relevancy, I still said that this guy was the guy, that he could be a guy. And I think that he's shown that he is a guy in AEW. Somehow I feel like, winning the title at Wembley Stadium, which is AEW's biggest show of the year, would be meaningful. First black man to do it as well. These legendary moments. Tony Khan's a sucker for this stuff as well. There's a lot of good in this. I'm not. I don't hate this. The idea of Swerve not winning here. I really think you can go both ways. The question is, are you going to can you do it in a way that will be compelling for the audience to continue to back Swerve up? Because Swerve, is not able to clinch the big one, right? If you really make it into the story, then it becomes interesting. Do you want Swerve to win a Double or Nothing, for instance? All this stuff is very, very compelling. On the other hand, like I really lean into, look, you have the match, do it while he's healthy, do it while everything is aligned. Don't wait too much. Just pull the trigger. Just do it, And I think ultimately this is where I fall on. I think Swerve should win. But if he loses, we're going into Cody Rhodes. We're heading into Cody Rhodes territory. Finish the story and all this stuff. That's what we're heading into, right? So bear with me. Join me on this ride for this weekend. Because there's really something to say. I mean, and it's not as if Joe is a bad champion. I think Joe as a world champion is absolutely tremendous, right? So if you wanted to tack on an extra 30 days for Joe, I'm fine with that. You want to have him drop it at Double or Nothing, that's absolutely fine. I think Joe is a tremendous world champion at the same time. I know a lot of people are like, oh, and I said it myself, Hangman Adam Page can cost him that. They don't really do those types of angles in the world matches. Like they did it a couple of times with MJF, right? But they don't do this person will cost the match, right? AEW sort of keeps this nonsense, this level of interference, this direct interference, costing a match. Doesn't happen very often for the world title. And I think that's good. We'll see what happens though. Well, of course, it's happening this weekend, but my gut says just pull the trigger, do it, and let's have the summer of Swerve. Let's have something. Let's get some good vibes. Because look, there's something that people will stop talking about, the fucking footage and All In and all this bullshit and CM Punk and this is something that, from a PR perspective, would be tremendous. Then you're completely changing the vibe, taking over the conversation with Swerve, as opposed to letting people dominate it with their fucking weirdo takes. There's a lot of upside to do this. Roderick Strong will be defending the AEW International Championship against Kyle O'Reilly. So this was settled at Battle of the Belts this past weekend. Technically, this is going to be tremendous. This is going to be great. I think Strong is retaining, but this is going to be, it's a match for sickos like me. Like I'm super looking forward to this match. What are we talking about? And I hope Roderick Strong comes out to End of Heartache and not the whatever fucking, yeah. But is there gas to this match? Is there heat? Is there probably not? But you've got a contender here for one of the best matches of the night. It won't be the best match of the night, but it will. Absolutely a contender here. You've even got Kazuchika Okada versus Pac for the AEW Continental title. There we go. When Okada was signed, I'm going to reiterate this point. When Okada was signed, people were rubbing their hands together and were like, oh, I can't wait to see Okada versus Omega. Can't wait to see Okada versus Ospreay. Oh, can you believe it? We'll get Okada versus Danielson. And I'm like, but what about all the other matches that we've never seen in New Japan? What about all of these other matches that exist? And when Pac came out, Pac came out to challenge Okada for a match, I was like, yes, here's a match I've never seen. Fantastic. This is what I understand the value in another Okada Omega match. I understand the value of another Okada Ospreay match. I'm not stupid, but I was much more enticed by the possibility of matches I have never seen before. Like Okada versus Eddie Kingston. And Okada versus Pac, what are we talking about? This is going to be tremendous. Like, I'm so excited for this match. This is, like, again, it's another match for sickos like me where I'm rubbing my hands together. I'm like, what are they going to do? How's this going to go? Like, Pac is tremendous. Okada is one of the greatest of all time. I mean, Okada's going to retain. Just like Roderick Strong is going to retain. But, these are strong matches. These are such strong matches. Am I off base by saying that Dynasty on paper is one of the, if not the strongest card that AEW has put together in a long time? Even Toni Storm versus Thunder Rosa. But I'm asterisking this. If we didn't have timeless Toni Storm, I'd be pumping my fist. But I have to asterisk this because, as we've discussed previously, I feel like the gimmick has started to hold her back in the ring. The gimmick. It's been holding her back. I don't think Toni Storm's recent pay-per-view excursions have been good. I kind of trashed the last one. I thought, the Full Gear one wasn't great either. Toni Storm has not had a really good track record. Now, she's going in with Thunder Rosa, seasoned, polished, violent Thunder Rosa. I'm like, if Toni Storm was indeed in full, like, okay, stardom, let's throw bombs on each other. Christ, I'd be sweating. I'd be sitting here dousing myself off. Because it does have the potential to be a really fucking brutal match. But the timeless gimmick is getting in the way now. And to me, that's a cardinal sin. That's something you don't do that. I think Toni Storm retains. I think something happens with Deonna Purrazzo to continue this story with Thunder Rosa, which is good. A lot of people say we want more stories for the women. Well, there you go. You've had that little story brewing underneath as well. Has the build to this been exciting? No, I don't think the build has been particularly good or exciting to this, but neither has Okada versus Pac, outside of the fact that Okada is a complete dick. Neither has the build to Roderick Strong versus Kyle O'Reilly, which is kind of mid, to be perfectly honest. But this is what's frustrating me, is that this has the potential to be a great match. It's all up to Toni, in my opinion. It's up to Toni and how much she wants to let go of this silly business that she does now and deliver Toni Storm matches as opposed to timeless Toni Storm. We've got Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe taking on the House of Black. There is no reason on earth that this match should stink. There's too many good elements, too many talented people. The House of Black as a trio are great. There's a lot of us who are just, sort of waiting that for Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews to go back to WWE. Like, we feel like it's an inevitability at this point. I think that's why they're mostly saddled into trios matches, stuff like that. Adam Copeland's been talked about it on the Dynamite review last week. You should watch that. Listen to that. Talked about Adam Copeland quite a bit and how much he's exceeded my expectations in AEW, and I'm enjoying his work. Like, I can't sit here and I haven't enjoyed Adam Copeland this much in years, where he was an irritant to me in AEW and WWE. Here he's adapted. He understands the crowd. He understands the mentality. He's been doing great things here. Briscoe is coming in. Might be a little friction with Eddie Kingston. We'll see. But all of this rules. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be your hard hitting. There's gonna be spots. This is gonna be your big time. Let's cheer for the baby faces stuff here. Julia Hart is taking on Willow Nightingale in a house rules match for the AEW TBS Championship. Do we know what the house rule is? I don't really care because I think the result is telegraphed here. I think the result is telegraphed where Willow Nightingale is going to defeat Julia, but waiting in the wings is Mercedes Moné. I think this will bring an end to the reign of the Spooky Girl, which is fine. Isn't she a little banged up? She's a little hurt. She might need a little more time off. I think the timing's okay. And Willow's going to become TBS champion, and she's going to be defending that against Mercedes Moné at Double or Nothing, which is supposed to be Moné's debut, which is a mistake. They should have Mercedes Moné right now is doing too many segments, too many talk segments, too many interviews. She needs to wrestle. This is why most people, really like Mercedes Moné. It's because she can work. Talking is not a strong suit, and I think it's it's disenchanting a lot of fans. But yeah, this is obviously all tied into less talking, more wrestling, turn her heel. That's how Sasha Banks works. That's how it works. Mercedes Moné has her promos have never been her strong suit. Never, ever, ever in 1,000 years have never been her strong suit. Her wrestling has, and as a babyface, she kind of stinks. But as a heel, she's tremendous. That's what you should do. And that's probably what they will do in the feud with Willow. They're probably going to try and swerve us, although we all see it coming. There we go. And, some people say, oh, why isn't she going for the world championship? Why is she going for the secondary titles? It's not supposed to be a secondary title to begin with. This is the title that Jade held for so many fucking years. For eons, make it feel important. There you go. It doesn't bother me. Besides, no way in hell do I want Timeless Tony versus Mercedes Moné. This build, that build makes me shiver. I don't want that build. Give me good old fashioned Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné. Let's go. But anyway, this should be a fine little match. Willow gets the win. That's my prediction. Then we have the tournament final. It's a ladder match for the AEW World title. For the AEW World Tag Team Championship, the Young Bucks taking on FTR. Of course, there has to be a fucking ladder added into this. God. But I'm excited for this, and I'm excited for the Young Bucks to win. You can't do. This has to be the plan, right? You have to have the Bucks win. They're so insufferable. With the elite. See, you want the elite with the gold. Jack Perry will probably stick his nose into this at some point. I'm fully expecting Jack Perry to show up. People are expecting MJF. I don't know. There's not enough United Kingdom unless Adam Cole is at ringside with Roderick Strong. I don't see MJF showing up. By the way, there are still people who think that MJF's status with AEW is uncertain. It's good to know that people can still get worked. But back to the Bucks and FTR. I mean, look, these guys have had very good matches, great matches. This will probably be a barn burner. I think there's a lot to wash away here as well. The footage nonsense and all that. I think it's all sort of cast a bit of doom and gloom, despite the fact that I really liked how it all played out last week on Dynamite. I liked I liked when Okada ran in and was beating down, Pac and then the Bucks came in and FTR. I liked how all of that came together. That was a good segment, and to me it added heat. I'm excited for this match. I know a lot of people are like, I didn't like the footage, so I'm not into this match. Well, okay, that's fine. It's still going to be great, and I like the build. I like where they are. I'm curious to see what they're going to do on Dynamite tonight. I'll be talking about it on the Dynamite review tomorrow, of course. But look, I think the Bucks win. I think the Bucks have to win here. It's too good. It's too good. They're doing such great work. And I know they're very selfless. They put a lot of other people over, so on and so forth. But I think right here, to make sure this elite group becomes like detestable and strangleable, you have to have the Bucks win, in my opinion. And then the people's main event: Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. I mean, this is the match that the show was built on. It was the first match they announced. That's how they got tickets into the building. This is what people are really, really, really want to see. This is the match people want. You have to be out of your mind to not want this match. I'm excited for this. Will Ospreay. If there's one person maybe in the world who loves pro wrestling as much as Bryan Danielson, it might be Will Ospreay. Right? And there, a couple of fans, a couple of guys who love pro wrestling, and a couple of sickos. It has all the elements. There's not much to break down here outside of Will Ospreay is going to defeat Bryan Danielson because his ascension in AEW is going to carry this company throughout the summer. And once we fully let go of CM Punk and All In 2023 and so on, and we focus on Will Ospreay, this is the guy who's going to carry this company. There's not a more faster rising star in North America in pro wrestling right now than he is. It was such a good move for him. So, yeah, I mean, what more do you... And Danielson's, like I said earlier, the parade of death of dream matches continues. He's back from wrestling one of the matches of the year against 65-year-old Blue Panther over in Arena, Mexico, and now he's back doing whatever he's going to do with Will Ospreay. I mean, this is probably going to be match of the night and probably going to be a match of the year. You've got two of the greatest of all time going at it. What, and people are going to find issues to not like it, to not want to watch it. They're going to find it. It's a shame because they're literally going to be missing out on something tremendous. They're really going to be missing out on something really sincerely great by hanging on to whatever feelings they have and wherever their loyalties lay. For some bizarre reason, you have to have loyalties, and I don't know. It's so strange to me that you'd miss out on this for bizarro reasons. But yeah, that's Dynasty, and it's on paper, it's a tremendous card. It's a hell of a show. We'll see how it delivers. Will it be as good as Revolution 2024? Yeah, that's the bar now. But I mean, look, some people, it's a Dynasty, MJF, he's going to show up. Again, I look at the card and there is no reason for MJF to show up. Not unless, like I said, unless we get full Undisputed Kingdom showing up with Roderick Strong and Adam Cole is there. If Adam Cole is not there, there is no way MJF is showing up, right? And he's not going to show up until Adam Cole is proper cleared to wrestle. He's not showing up until Adam Cole can get physical either. or close to. There you have it. So that's my preview of AEW Dynasty. Look, like I said, the good, the bad, the hungry over the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. I will be joining Fred and Tyler to break down that show a little more in detail, give it a heat check. It's their segment. That's what they call it, the heat check. We're going to check the heat. How hot are you for this card? Heat check. That's what we're going to be doing. So check that out if you want more extensive coverage on this, more extensive thoughts. Plus, Tyler and Fred do a great job over on their weekly AEW show. So win-win, win-win. And we're going to continue the winning streak by ending the weekly wrestling inspection. I don't know how that's necessary. There we go. Well, that about wraps it up for another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I'm glad you were all here to take part in the festivities, and I hope you enjoyed what I had to deliver today. Thank you all very much for joining me on this continued journey to the wacky world of pro wrestling. Of course, 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings on Spotify help out a great deal, just like likes and subscriptions here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes do as well. I will be back tomorrow, Thursday, for the AEW Dynamite review. Good, the bad, the hungry as well. You got to check that out. That should be out tomorrow. And, we're continuing down the cycle of content, so there's always stuff to talk about. So thank you again, everyone, for being here, and I'll see you next time.